and welcome to another episode of Nerds for Life SuperCoach. I'm your host Peter, and before we begin with the episode, please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and X, and Spotify as well if you're listening to this on Spotify, because it does keep you up to date with all the relevant SuperCoach news and posts that I make. A lot of it over the weekend is just me ranting about how my team is terrible, but there is some useful stuff in there as well, such as captain picks, vice captain picks, and sub announcements as well, which could affect your trade-ins, especially when it comes to rookie selections. So before we also please, I've actually written an article about Caleb Daniel and what to do with him and why, and it is on Inside F Sports Patreon. So if you do want to take a look at their content as well, it does support this page, or this channel that is, and just sign up with the code NERDS, NERDS, and that supports us as well as them, of course, and they post a lot of exclusive content when it comes to SuperCoach moves, trades, all sorts of things, and some inside scoops as well. So you might get those sub announcements much earlier than most, and you have more time to make a decision. But let's kick it off with the group winner. So, who was the group winner? It was not me. It definitely was not me. I did not have... The thing is, I actually thought I had an okay week, but I dropped about 800 spots, which I know is not terrible, but still, I thought that I had a fairly decent week. I'm pretty sure not having Cherry actually really burnt me last week, because I was projected to win all my head-to-heads. Everything was looking good, and then Cherry decides in the second half to do something, and all of a sudden I had an average week. So let's take a look. So the round 9, who scored the highest? It was Hitmen Mitchell's team. Gone Fishing, Mitch's team, is coming first in the league overall, and he came second. He had a massive 2,697, but Hitmen by Michael, 2,725 is absolutely fucked. That is fucked. And he's about 1,000 spots ahead of me in terms of ranked as well. I don't actually know what his round rank was. It doesn't tell me, but I'm assuming it was very high. So Hitman, let's take a look. Oh my god, he came second in overall. Wow. I've never seen someone in my league, the open league, go so well in a round. He came second. That's nuts. It is absolutely nuts. He had Lockie Ash, which is such a good POD. He's averaging 112 this season. Zorko came back into some form with a 166. Clark. He has Roberts in defense as well. Reed. Trainer still. I think Trainer's time to go. He had Peyton with the 6 on the bench. I was one of those idiots that had him on the field. Brayshaw Dacos, he had the VC on Dacos, so he actually started quite poorly and didn't VC Brayshaw. So heading into Thursday night, he would not have been happy. But Sheasel in the midfield's interesting. He's got Dunkley, Rosie, Marich in the midfield as well. Levi Ashcroft and Moraes. So he actually had Moraes on field. Okay, so far Moraes is his lowest score on field. Interesting. Gorn, Cherry, he captained Cherry. There we go. DeConning, Smith, massive game. Horn, Francis, Nick Martin, massive game. McRae, Daniel, and he took Max Hall. So your team's looking pretty good. It is looking pretty good, and I love the DPP in your midfield. Because a lot of people will avoid having someone like a Sheasel in their midfield or a Marich in their midfield. But I actually like it. It gives you flexibility, and to be honest, I don't think Sheasel's going to be too far off with some of the best midfielders as well, potentially anyway, in this role. So good work, Michael. Now we'll go to my team real quick, and we'll take a look at these spuds. We have Lockie Whitfield was good again. Harry Sheasel was good enough. Clark was fantastic. Roberts a bit of a down game, but honestly, I think that score is a little unlucky because he actually had a good AFL game. It just didn't reflect on SuperCoach, so I'm not too worried. Zach Reed, that's impressive. He's looking like a D6 at the moment. He's got a really low break even, so you wouldn't be trading him out. I doubt he keeps up this kind of form. But at the moment, he's the last of my concerns. Peyton with the 6 on field was lovely. Carroll, I reckon, is back this week because he got pulled from the VFL. So I'm hoping that Carroll kind of comes in and he'll be my D6 and not Peyton. Brayshaw, fantastic. I VC'd him. I'm actually doing really well with my captain scores this season. So I'm just going to get my... this is where I keep track of my captain scores on the right-hand side if you're watching this on YouTube. So I've captain Gawn, Neil, McRae, Neil, Brayshaw, Gawn, Brayshaw. As you can see, I just continue to captain Gawn and Brayshaw every week and then sometimes sprinkle Neil and McRae in. But it's served me well. I haven't dropped below a 120 so far this season. So I'm okay with that when it comes to captain scores. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Neil was a bit meh. Did come home strong in the last quarter because he looked like he was going to score a 50 at 3/4 time. Petrarca was good. Really frustrating with Petrarca because Petrarca was on about 79 points at half time and then only finished with, I think he was on 80 points at half time or something like that, and he only finished with like another 20 points for the rest of the game, which was infuriating. I thought Petrarca's in for a big 140 and then all of a sudden he's finished on 99. It's quite average. Anyway, so yeah, Petrarca was okay. Rosie, pretty good game. LDU, 97. Again, not horrible, but not amazing. He does have Richmond this week, so I can see that he hopefully has that one of those big spike games this week. Chera looked great up until half-time, so I was really glad that I held him up until half-time. Then Carlton started getting injuries, and they moved him to the back pocket, and his scoring just stopped. He was on about 60 points at half-time, and I thought, oh, awesome, I'm going to get about a 110, 120 game, maybe 120, probably closer to 110, and then it just stopped because he was moved into a really poor position that he doesn't score great in. Lindsay, look, I'm thinking of trading him this week purely because I can get a primo using him, but also he is the most reliable rookie that I have outside of Reed, so maybe that's a bad move. Scored alright. Hustwaite, yuck. Subbed out at halftime. What was I going to do? Boxall ends up scoring more than him. Gawn, fantastic. DeConning, fair enough. That's fine. Smith, amazing. Rankin, okay. Horn-Francis, good game. Warner looked like he was going to score about a 50 at halftime as well. Came home strong. I think their draw is really good, so I'm not worried about that. McRae, I'm not worried about. And Daniel is the talking point this week. And then you've got Ryan Marshall. That was I didn't captain him. I'm just flicking a C on him at the moment. I don't know if I'll captain him or not. But he actually was okay with 103 in his first game in my team. I haven't actually upgraded above 500k yet. So every player that I've brought in as an upgrade has actually been at a discount. Now I was chatting to Geordie on the SuperCoach Masters, which you can see here. So this was the video. I hate you so much, Terry. As a non-owner, I was talking to him and I realized that every upgrade I've made this year has been at a complete discount. So I upgraded to Bailey Humphrey, which is arguably not an upgrade because he was yuck. And then he was about 270k. Then I upgraded to Bailey Smith, so I fixed not owning him at about 450k, which I know is more expensive than the 390 that he started with, but for a keeper that's scoring 154 and averaging 115, I've actually saved myself 100k still. So I think that that's pretty good. As a get, still, like 450k on a keeper is top 6 forwards is fine. Then I've gone LDU because Oliver wasn't named, and that was fantastic, and he was about 490k. Then I went Petrarca before that, who was about 480k. Then I went LDU 490k. Then I've gone both Warner and Marshall last week, and they were 489k and 470k. So I haven't actually upgraded above 500k, and I'm still sitting at a pretty reasonable rank of about 2,800. So I'm okay with that because I've been kind of upgrading at a discount, and the players have been scoring well. And I have been timing it. It's not just because this is all I can afford. I've been timing it because these are guys that I'm targeting for just not just their potential, but also their upcoming fixtures. You know, why were they playing badly? Like, Ron Marshall had a little bit of a foot injury. He's starting to come good now, and I can see this form continuing. I can see his form doing quite well. He's got Richmond this week. West Coast this week. Let's be honest, you know, we should be seeing a pretty decent game there. He's got a good finish to the year too. So this is something I want to point out. When you're bringing in your players, it's not just about the next 3 games. It's also about how they're going to finish. So your SuperCoach finals, just before your finals he plays Melbourne, that's bad. But your SuperCoach finals he plays Tristan Cherry. Okay, that's annoying. First week of finals, that's annoying. But then he's got Nank, who bleeds points. And then he's got whoever Ruckman Essenden's going to have at that time. We don't know who that's going to be. And then the Giants, Briggs concedes a lot of points too. So I actually think having Romar in your flex position is not bad when it comes to your SuperCoach final series. And that's the reason I brought it in, really. It's the end of year results that I'm hoping for. Caleb Daniel. This is where a lot of people are asking me, and unless he's dropped, because he had a really bad game. If he's dropped, scratch this, I'm trading him out. However, he's 440k and he's got a break even of 121. He plays Richmond. Who concede big points to halfbacks. Okay? Don't look at his last 3. In 2023, he scored a 79. Richmond were still a half decent team at that point. So I don't think that that's a clear indication. He could, in theory, have a 100+ game, and then he's not going to lose that much money anyway. I also want to point out that there's another player next week that is going to start to peak in terms of trading potential. And I'll explain why I'm thinking of holding Daniel this week so I can get his decent score against the Tigers and then trade him out next week. And look, I can go into it more. As I said, I really went into the Caleb Daniel trade or keep pick on Inside F Sports Patreon, which you can check out on their Patreon, and you sign up using the word nerds, which will then allow you to support this page and them, of course. But basically, Daniel is most likely not going to be a top 6 forward. He's just not. When we started him, great. You know, he was 171k cheaper. It was actually a great pick. Okay, but if I was to go to, I'm just going to go really quickly. Players, filters, forwards, right? He is the 8th highest scoring forward currently, but he's only 3 points ahead of Marek, okay? I also want to point out that Nick Martin is coming really quick for him. And then you've also got Luke Jackson, who missed a few games, okay? So that already puts him, if those guys jump above him, that already puts him at 11th spot. In terms of average, he's actually on 13th spot, okay? Isaiah Pickett, Sam Darcy, unfortunately, is ahead of him as well. Jesse Hogan's ahead of him. Nick Martin, Kennedy, Luke Jackson. There are a lot of good forward options this year. We're actually spoilt for choice with forward options this year. And because of that, Caleb Daniels' value has reduced a little bit. And I think that you're probably fine to hold him for this week, but maybe look at trading him next week then, because he's also got the disgusting bye. I'm just going to do this for a second. I'll show you something, okay, for those watching this on YouTube. In round 12, we're going to be missing Harry Sheasel, LDU, Caleb Daniel, Tristan Cherry if you own him, right? Patrick Cripps, Sam Walsh, Adam Chera, Tom DeConning, Jason Horn-Francis, Connor Rosie, Zach Butters, Tom Liberatore, oh my god, Marcus Bontempelli, and Bailey Day. Okay? Tim English as well. So I've seen some teams with Tim English. If you have any of those players, I'm looking, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 primos out that week. I have 7 primos out that week. I know it's best 18, right? But 7 primos out that week is nuts, And considering how bad the rookies are at this time of year, and we're only a couple of weeks away from the buys, that's really bad. That is really bad. Okay? So think about it. If Caleb Daniels no longer a top 6 forward, or even a top 8 forward, or even a top 10 forward at this point, right? Is it worth keeping him when you're probably carrying a lot of those guys like I am? And this is why he's a trade out, I believe, next week. You could trade him out this week if it means getting a primo, but I think that he's actually going to score reasonably well this week. Hopefully, if he's playing, and then I'll trade him out next week for someone who I'm keeping an eye on as a non-owner, and that is Nicky Dacos. Nicky Dacos has a break-even of 193. He scores 111, which is a decent game. He drops 36k. He's going to be about 570k next week. Okay? He plays North Melbourne next week at Marvel. I could see a big score against North Melbourne. Okay? But his last 2 games have been pretty average. So if he does score a flat 100 or a 110, he's going to be right for the picking and doesn't have the round 12 bye. So for me, I want to go Caleb Daniel to Nick Dacos. I think that's the play, personally. So I'm probably holding Daniel so that I have a chance at Nick Dacos next week. I think that's the play that I'm going to make personally. But let's see. That's next week. Let's look into this week first. We don't have a lot of rookie options. Okay, we don't. We really don't. There are a few, and I did go into it in the with the SuperCoach Masters this week. I did go into it. Give me a moment. If I go with the lowest price players, nope, lowest price, not the highest price. You got Archer Day Wicks, who scored a 33, and that's with a goal. He's only played 1 game. He's in 8.8% of teams, and that is purely... Sorry, my dog's freaking out. I'm not even going to pause this. I'm just going to be right back. This is just natural. Okay, I'm back. He's good. I'm good. Okay, so Archer, you have Archer Day Wicks, okay? Who is I've lost my train of thought. He's only played 1 game. I don't love his job security. Has been playing well in the VFL though, so he could potentially stay in the team, and the Dons have a lot of injuries. I am thinking of going early on him purely for the DPP and the fact that he'll be a decent loop later in the season. And it's going to get me a primo that I want, but again, it does all depend on selections. If he's not playing, I'm not going to do it, because that's dumb. Hosier Delana. Thanks, Zuko. Hosier Delana, I just assume that's how I say his name. I actually have no idea. He's already in 1.9% of teams. He's a midfielder. He's 99k. He scored a 37 last week. He's at his bubble. And I think he's the only player that's decent at his bubble if you've gone early on a Boxall. Of course, Boxall's the player to pick this week. Harry Boyd, no. Thomas Edwards, no, unfortunately. Matthew Jefferson, I wouldn't touch. He scored a nice little 1. He's already played 3 games, though, so that's kind of interesting. I'm just going to take a look, actually. Hang on. So he's played rounds 1, where he scored a 41. Round 2, he scored a 0. And round 9, he scored a 1. Yeah. Although, it would have been a better... Probably... Oh, no. He's actually lost money. He's actually lost people money this season so far, so that's annoying. Lucas Camporelli, fingers crossed, but didn't have a big game in the VFL. Actually, Ben Camporelli did, unfortunately, for those who have held Lucas like I have. Cody Angove, you wouldn't go early on him. He only scored a 28 as well. Aiden Johnson, if he's named, I don't hate this pick. He's on his bubble. And it's been on his bubble since round 2. Tom Sims, I wouldn't go early on him. Didn't set the world on fire. Boxall's the player this week. He's definitely the player this week. He's already in 20% of teams. I understand why. Caleb Smith, no. Cochrane, no. Tunstall is on his bubble, but his job security is disgusting. Lewis Hayes would have been the pick. He would have been the pick, but then he got injured, and that's sad. That is sad, and he's out for the season. Oscar McDonald. Now, Darcy wasn't named on the injury list. I would have loved him if Darcy was injured, but he's not. Cooper Simpson actually played well, had a good role as a forward. I don't hate this pick. Like, if you're... I don't hate this pick at all. He had a pretty decent role as well. I just don't love his job security at the moment. Wilshire, no. League, absolutely not. Bailey McDonald's an interesting one. This is the weirdest thing in the world, right? He has actually played 3 games and has not changed in value because his games have been average and it hasn't caused a price rise or decrease. 16, 14, 41 means that he's actually retained his price. So you could go Bailey McDonald. He is technically on his bubble, even though he's played 3 games already. But I don't love the pick at all. He's probably going to score you a 15 this week. I don't love Fultron. I wouldn't pick him. Finbar Maley, I don't hate because he's on his bubble. Scored an 18. But also, he's got the worst bye, so you wouldn't pick him either. The Buslinger, maybe, if he plays, if he's back. Sandy Brock was the player last week, actually, because apparently McGuffin's missing another week. So people that got Sandy Brock last week at 99k are going to get another game out of him this week. So they got real lucky. I'm so annoyed I didn't go Sandy Brock. Liam O'Connell's not terrible. Not terrible at 136k. He's gone up 16k. Plays West Coast. He's got a -11 break even. It's not the worst pick. He's actually had 2 really good games. I actually dropped him after the Richmond game. And now he's actually playing okay. Turns out I should have gotten rid of Hasty. And I should have kept Liam O'Connell. Then you've got Ted Cloese, who has played 6 games. He scored a 2. The thing is, his job security is actually, fairly okay. But his scoring's not. He scored an 84, which is okay. A 58, a 47, a 22, a 14, and a 2. So he's getting sub-affected, obviously. He's got DPP. He's one of those guys that's just going to play every week, at least. Maybe. Neil Erasmus, no, I wouldn't touch him. Sandy Brock, it's too late to jump on, unfortunately. A couple of players made 50k out of him. And now they're going to make another, 30k, 25, 30k. Lucky bastards that picked him in. Harry Sharp's an interesting one. Okay. He's got 11 break even, so he probably hits that. Okay. He's got a midfielder forward. He's got DPP. He's played every game. Okay. I don't love him for cash generation, but for job security and for cover through your buys, I don't hate this pick because you could just kind of hold him through the buys and he probably will play. And I rather score a 53, right, than a nothing on my field. So I don't hate this pick at all. The only problem is I've got too many Melbourne players, as it is. Sardar Hawley is the better pick. Definitely. He actually had a really good game on the weekend as well. It didn't reflect too great SuperCoach-wise, but I think that he's definitely the pick. He's got a 19 break even. He's got Richmond next week as well. Scored a 69, but the thing is, his job security is not amazing. So he's played round 3 by round 4, played round 5 and 6, and all of those were sub games. Not the 67 was only because they got an injury early and he came in early. The 69 was the first full game he played, and he actually did okay. And he was dropped for about a couple of weeks there. I don't love his job security, but it is better than a Joe Fonte who scored a 29 and is more expensive. And you've also got DPP, which means you can move him around. I actually think that Sardell Hawley and Harry Sharp are the 2 best picks this week in terms of downgrades, because we don't really have anyone that's a must-have is going to burst on the bubble. Boxall, obviously. If you haven't gone early on Boxall, Boxall's your man. But if you have gone early on Boxall, then maybe one of these 2 are the guys that you go with. I am actually tempted to go down a couple this week. Literally do 2 trades, just trading down inflated rookies to these sort of guys on my bench. Of course, have these guys on my bench playing. Maybe they have a spike score one day and we actually get some decent scoring, but there's really not much else. And you wouldn't be paying up for a Angus Sheldrick or a Zane Dersma or even a Hustwaite after he was subbed out. The Dersma's interesting, actually. Has he played every game? He's got Richmond coming up. He's played 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's been in the team, but his scoring isn't there. Does have a decent draw coming up, so maybe he does get a spike game. His break even's 34. You could make money, but you're not going to make $100,000 off him, so there's no point. There really is no point. That's the rookie situation at the moment. They're the only two rookies that I actually like. In saying that, I might be able to get in the primo these are the primos that I think are the ones that you should really be looking at this week. And the number one is Jack Sinclair. Okay? So a break even of 106. It's high enough where you could maybe fade a week. Okay? But he is playing West Coast. So if he goes nuts, he's going to jump like 30k. He's 529k. I can see this being the cheapest that he's going to be at. He plays West Coast, Gold Coast, and Melbourne in the next three. And I can see some big scores. Did have those few down games earlier in the year. But even before that, he was insane. Okay? He's got a good finish to the season too with Melbourne, North Melbourne, Richmond, Essendon, GWS. So I think that he can be... He's definitely a keeper. He's midfield defender. I'm most likely bringing him in. It does depend on selections, how I'm doing it. I have to basically buy basement price rookies. So Delana and Archer Day Wicks, and I can get him in my team. Okay? I don't love that pick. Like, I'll show you what I have to do. I have to get rid of Lindsay, Cleary, and Hall to get Sinclair in my team with Daywicks and Delana. I don't like this. This is stupid. This is really dumb. Like, Delana these two could potentially not play this week. He could play this week, Clay Hall. If Clay Hall plays this week, that ruins all of this because Clay Hall's break even is like in the negatives and I need cash. So it really does depend on who's playing this week if I do this. This is a disgusting trade and I would not recommend anyone do it. But it does allow me to have a keeper with a good buy, which I do like. So that's it. I've also been quite conservative with my trades, I think. Like, I've got 24 trades left and 2 boosts. Okay? There are some teams out there that have 18 trades and no boost left. I'm 6 trades ahead of them. So I can make a dumb trade every now. Like, if this is the dumb trade this week, I'm probably okay enough because we have the buys coming up, but we'll get 3 trades every week anyway. I plan on having a boost. The first week of buys, which will be around 12, which is the bad one, I'm hoping to boost and have the 3 trades, which will be 4 trades anyway, which could mean that I actually may have a decent team come that week. As I said, next week, I'm actually considering getting rid of both Chera and Daniel at that point in time, so I'm not affected by that buy, but also that will get me Nick Dacos. And it could get me someone else who just keep your eyes on someone, all right? And that is Mr. Callum Mills. He's a defender, okay? He's got a break even of 70, and he's probably playing his first game this week, so he's listed as a test. All right, he's 357k. If Callum Mills is playing in a CBA role this week, I'm most likely going to bring him in next week. If I was to get rid of Chera and Daniel next week, I would be able to afford both Dacos and Mills, which I actually like. So I'm strongly considering that, but we'll see what happens. Just one to keep an eye on this week. Then you've also got Kitty Coleman, who's even cheaper than that, 269k, break even of 53. Came in well in the twos, but will most likely hopefully play his first game this week in the AFL, and we'll see what role he has. It means that Jasper Fletcher will most likely go to a wing, which means Coleman could be the cash generator that we want him to be, which also might mean like Daniel Chera. I haven't traded out a primo this year, so this will be my first premium moves. Potentially Daniel Chera out for like maybe Kitty Coleman and Nick Dacos, which really makes my team so much better. And if I've already got Sinclair, great. So they're probably my moves. I also do like Zorko this week, but I don't think I can stretch to him. He's got a break even at 53. This is the week to do it. He's 531k. He's got an okay draw coming up. Did go nuts against North Melbourne, but remember it was North Melbourne. Has actually scored kind of averagely against some of the better teams, so do keep an eye out on that. And his end of season, he's actually playing some pretty good teams. So I actually don't like the Dane Zorko pick myself for the long term. It's a decent pick though. The one that I am actually really interested in is Max Holmes. He's 498k with a break even of 67. He's got DPP. This is one of those weird players that gets both CBAs and kick-ins. So if you go look at all his games, he's getting CBAs and kick-ins. He's under 500k. He's got West Coast in 3 weeks. He just came back off a 134, but he also had a stretch of 80, 70, and 94, which is not screaming pick me, but also the ceiling of 147 and 127. He's that kind of guy that goes up and down. It's a little bit volatile, but his ups are great. Okay, he does have West Coast, Richmond, North Melbourne, and Richmond in the second half of this season coming up. So you're expecting like 4 really good games there. He's also got Richmond in your SuperCoach Grand Final. Okay, so if your team makes a SuperCoach Grand Final, you'll have Max Holmes, who's captainable in round 24. So just think about it. Think about it. If I can't stretch to Sinclair, I'm probably going to stretch to Holmes just because I do want to make an upgrade this week. And I don't want to do a sideways because I actually think Caleb Daniel will have a decent game. And I think Chera only had a bad game because he was moved to the back pocket, which he was looking really good up until halftime. So they're kind of the players that I'm really keeping an eye on this week. I think those defenders are peaking. So you've got Bailey Dale as well, but I don't like him personally. I don't think he's a top 8 or top 10 defender by season's end. I think the best picks right now are Sinclair, Zorko, and Max Holmes. I'd probably put Holmes ahead of Zorko because of his end of season. I think that you could really jump on a guy that has a good fixture coming up, who has 2 good roles. He's got 2 really good roles in DPP. So for me, Sinclair's number 1, Holmes is number 2, Zorko's number 3, and they're your 3 trade-ins this week. They're, at the moment, absolutely at the best possible price point as well. Connor Rose is an interesting one. He's a bit more elevated than them, but he's about to get DPP too, and he could be a top 10, top 8 defender when he gets that DPP. So if you've already got the 3 that I've mentioned, because there's a lot of teams out there that have Sinclair, Zorko, and Holmes already, maybe target a Rosé, and then you could really be finishing off that defensive line. So they're probably the primo picks right now that I'm considering, and in that order as well. Definitely in that order as well. So we'll move to questions. Okay, so I've put this out there a few days ago, and let's take a look. We'll go on Facebook first. Michael Narin, or Nan? Yeah, Nan. What do we do with our rookie issue? Boxall looks like the only option. Who the first 2 to go? Bice, Hewitt, Sartsis, Cleary. Clark, Naz, Sinclair are my upgrade targets this week, one of them. Hewitt would be first because he looks terrible. Sartsis and Cleary, they're definitely the ones to go first. Bice you can hold because he'll actually be kind of useful in your buys. We've already talked about rookies. Clark, Naz, Sinclair. I think Sinclair is the right time. He's got a good draw coming up as well. So Sinclair, I do like Smith. My God, what am I saying? I do like Wanganeen Malera, but I think that the price point and the DPP means that Sinclair just is that better option at the moment. Pixel Curious, use Final Boost to make 2 upgrades. Bice to Holmes, Caleb Daniel to Noah Anderson / Tom Green, or make one of these trades but keep boost for round 12. Or for Bond Butters. I actually think that keep the boost for round 12 for Bond Butters. They're definitely more important. Bice to Holmes, I really do like. Caleb Daniel, Noah Anderson, Tom Green. I prefer Caleb Daniel to Tom Green if you're going to do it, but just don't be upset if Caleb Daniel scores a 110 this week. Just don't be upset. Okay, it's the long-term play is that Tom Green and Noah Anderson should score better than Caleb Daniel, but the immediate round will likely see Caleb Daniel playing well. Lulu, Boxall, El Hawley, Boxall any day of the week this week, definitely, but El Hawley if you've already got Boxall, which I assume you don't. By the question, Blair Struthers, I butchered that. Bye to Bice and Roberts. Where can I find your podcast? It will be here where you're listening to it right now. I'll message you throughout. But I think Bice out, Roberts keep. He actually is playing okay. Just didn't relate to an AFL game. Seth Fuller. Thoughts on trade outs, Bice, Clay Hall and Kako. And the ins are Marek, Buse and Simpson. I don't see Marek being a keeper personally. That's my opinion. He was definitely a cash cow that was going to score well. So you've kind of missed the boat on that. Buse, he's 32 years old and not in their best 22. I think Tom Stewart's back this week and Humphreys. And C Simpson. Yeah, I don't mind that so much. But I don't like the ins myself. So I wouldn't be trading those guys out for those ins. I would only be trading those guys out for keepers. Troy Wendell, trying to work out if it's worth holding Daniel or do I get rid of on-field rookies first. On-field rookies first should always be your priority because they're always a sub-risk and we end up getting like Peyton 6 and Hustwaite's 27 on-field. It depends on what you're doing with Daniel. Okay? It really depends on what you're doing with Daniel. I'm using Daniel next week to get to someone like Dacos, who I really want, right? So it really depends. Daniel should score okay enough this week, in theory, if he plays. So, honestly, I think that just maybe you can hold him out, but if you can get a primo using your rookies, just do that, because you're fixing your on-field scoring. Grant Williams, folks, who is the best rookie R3 to bring in? Mally, Sims, Tactical Donut, or someone else? That's an interesting question. No one really has been talking about R3 this year. For me, I've got the perfect R3. So if you've got Rowan Marshall, because I don't know if you do, Harry Boyd is the perfect R3 because if Rowan Marshall ever misses a game, it's going to be Harry Boyd that plays. So if Rowan Marshall, for whatever reason, is like unavailable, I can just move Harry Boyd into flex. So I've actually got I feel like I've covered myself with that trade in. But if you don't have Boyd or you're thinking of trading out Boyd, I don't like Mally because of his bye, but he's on his bubble this week. So if he's playing his third game, it's Mally. Sims has a better bye, but again, I wouldn't be going early on someone like Sims. So I don't like anyone at R3 at the moment. Sorry, mate. Why didn't I put the C on Cherry? I wish I traded Cherry in and put the C on him. So, Ben Evans, I'm one step behind you. At least you had him on field. Sam George, Wanganeen Malera, or Sinclair. Sinclair purely for DPP and the cheaper price point. Wanganeen Malera has a better... From what I can see, he's more consistent. But Sinclair has the biggest ceiling. Sinclair for me. Ash Bartlett. Do penguins have knees? I actually don't know, and I'm not Googling that. Fuck it, I'll Google it. Do penguins have knees? Is this going to be something weird that I pick up? Yes, penguins definitely have knees. Good to know. Thank you. Jesse Bat and Ali. Sorry, that was hard. How do we get the season to start again and make sure the rookies perform better? Well, I don't know, mate, but if you find out, let me know so I can restart all my rookies because all of mine were shit starts this year. Alright, so that's Facebook. Let's see if there were any on X. There were a couple. Maverick SuperCoach. Should I move on Nank and a cashed up rookie to Cherry and a rookie as I don't have either Cherry or Gorn and it's killing me and Cherry has West Coast this week. Cherry has West Coast this week. Fuck, that's going to hurt me. Wait, who did Marshall have then? Wait, I thought Marshall had West Coast this week. Wait a minute. What am I doing? Yeah, Marshall has West Coast this week. Not Cherry. Don't make me skip a heartbeat. it's killing me, and Cherry West Coast this week. Or you think I should go Bice out Cleary for Sinclair and a rookie? Look at your buy structure, honestly. I wouldn't get Gorn, he's too expensive. Cherry is a must-have, I think, but if you bring him in just before his buy, that's going to be real frustrating for you, especially considering Nank doesn't have that buy. I look, honestly, Nank's not going to lose a bunch of cash. You can do Cherry after his buy. That's the reality of it. You've sucked it up for 9 rounds. Just do it for another 2-3 weeks and get him after that. Go Sinclair now. Phil, is it time to jump on Sicily? Sicily's an interesting one. 479k, break even of 52. Okay. Break even of 52. He's got an okay... Oh yeah, matchups coming up. He played Richmond and Melbourne. Richmond don't have a forward line. Melbourne barely have a team. I don't like this pick. I think there's better options. I think there are much better options. Bolts. I have enough cash for any player by trading out Bice and Daniel. Would you bring in Cherry or wait until he's buy? Oh, I've already answered this. Yep, I've already answered this. It was just for Maverick. Do what I said with Maverick. I think Sinclair versus Clark. Sinclair for me. Clark's a gun, but I see Sinclair with the biggest ceiling, more consistently hitting that ceiling as well. So there we go. They're the questions for this week answered. I hope that helped. We'll go quickly into afl.com.au. We'll go quickly into, let's see, the fixture to figure out vice captains and captains this week. Thursday night, the Suns versus Hawthorn. Don't like anyone from this game. Hawthorn do tag, so yeah, I wouldn't be putting a VC on anyone from that game. Friday, Sydney take on Carlton. I wouldn't be putting a VC on anyone at the Blues because who knows who James Jordan goes to. It's probably a Patrick Cripps or a Sam Walsh, most likely, which means Chera should hopefully get off. Sydney have not been in good form. I wouldn't be putting it on anyone at Sydney. Maybe Warner if you're ballsy, but no. Saturday, Collingwood versus Adelaide. If Nick Dacos is playing well, Nick Dacos is fit, then I don't think that he'll have a bad game. So you could go Nick Dacos if you own him, though some people have PTSD after putting the VC on him last week. Nick Dacos is the only one that I like from this game. Port Adelaide take on Geelong. I do like myself as Zach Butters, though Geelong have sometimes been clamping down on midfielders, so keep an eye out on that. I actually don't like any VC options in the first opening 4 games. My VC is coming into the next one, and the reason for that is because I know that Bedford is a tag for the Giants versus Freo, but he's most likely tagging Sarong. So therefore, I think Brayshaw plays well enough. So I'm probably putting it on Brayshaw, and he's my VC pick for the week. Western Bulldogs take on Essendon. I don't know with Essendon. They can concede some big scores, and then there's weeks where they just like really clamp down on players. So I like Marcus Bontempelli if you own him, Tom Liberatore, but don't be upset if there's a big injury there. That's not injury, a big tag there. Sunday, Richmond take on North Melbourne. I actually like the captaincy choices on the Sunday. Okay, so we're spoilt for choice here because Richmond... The thing is, I'm actually tempted to hold out until Sunday, even with my VC pick, because Harry Sheasel could go off the chain against Richmond. Okay, let's take a look. His last 2 have been good enough, right? They've both been over 100. Okay, he's scoring well. He's got a halfback role who do well against the Tigers. Okay, but he's only had a couple of captainable games. Then you've got LDU who just hasn't popped off this year. He just hasn't popped off. But his last game against Richmond was a 141. Okay, and if we go to last week was a bad example because Richmond played West Coast, and West Coast is barely an AFL side. So if you go to like round 8, when Richmond actually played a decent team, you go Hawthorn, right? I'm pretty sure, yeah, Newcomb actually had a pretty good game himself that day. And then you go to round 7. Let's see. I just want to see who went off against Richmond in round 7, because it was somebody. Oh, Petrarca went to a 129. Yeah, there we go. So you got Bowie and Petrarca that went really well. Like, I actually think the VC could actually come from the late games. It could actually come from the late games. It could, like, the best VC option is probably out of this game. Like, you could put a sneaky VC on someone that you think is going to go mental. LDU hasn't been in great form, so I don't have the balls to put it on LDU, but like a sneaky VC on a Harry Sheasel's not bad, provided you've got the loop option. So I'll probably have a loop through either Hasty at St Kilda or Aiden Johnson at Melbourne, right? So I could actually pull off a very late VC, like a really late VC, and I actually am now considering it. I might actually do it. I might even put the VC on Harry Sheasel. And then move Hasty onto field, and he will be my captain if Sheasel pops off. So I'm probably going to do that, actually. It looks really good. Then you got Brisbane, Melbourne. I can see all the Brisbane midfielders are doing really well against Melbourne. So I know that Tristan Cherry scored a 188 against Oscar McInerney, but that is weird because Oscar McInerney usually locks down an opposition ruckman. So I could see Gawn playing well, but I don't see it as a captain pick this week. The last game is St Kilda versus West Coast, and I like Sinclair a lot in this game, but I also really like Rowan Marshall. So if you could pick any one of these guys, I think that is your pick. Anyway, that's me, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll be back same time, same place next week.